You have a judge telling the defendant that he needs to watch how he's gesturing or looking toward the jurors.
The judge's threat happened during this woman's testimony.
But let me tell you, not only because he had left, he was in the back of the court and he went. I think they took up to like a back room. But all the Diddy kids are there, right? So his daughters are there. I was sitting behind them. It was awkward for me to watch them have to listen to all of this. After he started, the male Esther started getting into a lot of the and stuff. They got up and left.
Who told him to leave? Did Diddy say leave or?
No, Diddy didn't tell him to leave. I don't know if there was a conversation.
Rumor has it that the Combs kids aren't doing well at all, and Diddy and his crew have been making them labor, and things are starting to spiral out of control. It would appear that Diddy's kids, particularly the younger ones who would be bullied because of the case's widespread media coverage, always preferred to stay out of the case and the trial. But because it appeared favorable to the media, Diddy and his group allegedly used threats to force the kids to watch everything, despite the fact that it was clear that their mental health was deteriorating. The jurors were won over by optics. But insiders say Diddy's kids are sick of the drama and want to publicly attack their father after it's all over. In particular, how has this trial impacted the Combs kids? And what would Diddy do if his kids start to rebel against him? It is a ruse by Diddy's legal team and public relations department. According to insiders, that Diddy's kids seem content and supportive of their father. The kids of Diddy want to jump ship. Diddy's kids would undoubtedly have a very tough time growing up with someone as notorious as him, but he certainly didn't anticipate this when he was busy enlisting his older boys, Christian and Justin, in his wild ways all those years ago. In the event that Diddy loses this case, his children will probably be forced to fend for themselves. Diddy has either stated that he recruited his sons to work for him or named them as defendants in his case. Justin was allegedly implicated in a shooting at Chalice Recording Studios that injured his pal G, according to Lil Rod. According to the lawsuit, Diddy forced everyone to fabricate stories to cover up the occurrence, telling the police it was just a random drive-by. There are also claims that he provided tight orders to deny any involvement in the shooting to the police. Diddy allegedly forced Mr. Jones to inform the police that G was shot while he was standing outside. According to court documents, it's not just a drive-by assault at the studio. His job at Diddy's alleged Rico company was to find young women and escorts for Diddy's infamous freak shows. Naturally, Justin is also accused of attending these crazy events. Because of Justin's engagement in these dubious activities, his mother, Misa Hilton, became enraged and attacked Diddy on social media, accusing him of failing to uphold his morals and protecting his kids from his dubious actions. Diddy's parenting style, especially with regard to her son Justin, but the Homeland Security raids when Christian and Justin were tied and exposed to lasers were the final straw for her, saying, "I'm not with none of that reality TV stuff when is enough." The saying "a fish rots from the head down" describes how leadership is not only a key factor in a family's or organization's success but also the main reason for its collapse and destruction, according to Misa. "Yes, at this point, I simply protect my son. Everyone must sit around for years and pretend that nothing is wrong with you," she went on. "For this, I accept full responsibility. What would anyone say to males if my son were ever harmed? God forbid, when we all know who is at fault." But the situation gets worse. Christian Combs, Diddy's second son, is, if not more so than his brother Justin, immersed in the family business in addition to participating in Diddy's purported freak-offs. Soon later, he became the focus of a whole case when a woman called Grace Mark, who worked on a boat during what was ostensibly a family vacation, sued Christian for claiming she did. Diddy's legal issues started because people were collapsing. After only one drink, Grace says the trip wasn't a family vacation at all, but rather a hedonistic environment with alcohol and escorts. She also says the beverages were tampered with. At this point, things become unclear because Grace says Christian tried to essay her. According to reports, he forced her to drink tequila with him multiple times before becoming aggressive and snatching her arm. He apparently went all handsy and touched her when she tried to leave. He allegedly attempted to coerce her into going down on him in the yacht theater in another incident, but Grace says the captain didn't believe her when she tried to report. The attack because Diddy supposedly bought off the crew to keep it quiet. It supposedly got so bad that Grace was fired because the captain started tormenting her. The incident completely ruined her life. Following the breakup of her long-term relationship, she battled an eating disorder and now experiences epileptic seizures. The twins were not exempt. The fact that Delilah and Jessica donned matching costumes that many believed were inappropriate for youngsters their age made news on their 16th birthday. Although Diddy was widely chastised at the time for allegedly letting his kids run wild because their mother wasn't there, the rumors that the girls were more involved in Diddy's things were more complicated than we initially believed when they and their sister Chance started showing up at the courthouse to support Diddy. On the surface, it seemed like a lovely moment where the entire family came together to show how Diddy was a good father and a good citizen. There were even Justin and Christian, the sons of Kim Porter and Alb Shaw, as well as Diddy's adopted son Quincy, the girls Jessie, Delilah, and Chance, Diddy's mother Janice, and his sister. But remember, there were witnesses called at one point. The questions they were asked to testify about their relationship with Diddy were rather intriguing, and their responses were incredibly detailed. In his testimony, the male escort described in great detail how Diddy and Cassie hired him for freak-offs and all of their activities at those sessions. Diddy's teenage children must have been horrified to hear others label their father a monster in public, as you're already aware that the majority of the evidence was unsettling, even for adults. It was so challenging for them that they actually took multiple breaks outside the courtroom. Cassie then testified about how Diddy had taken her for days at a time during freakouts and made her do everything she didn't want to do, including a number of disgusting things. When Diddy ruined her face, she testified that he had threatened her, touched her, and held her in hotel rooms for days to allow her face to recover. Remarkably, it was at this time that there were whispers that Diddy's kids were sick of entertaining him and wanted to distance themselves from the trial to protect themselves in case something goes wrong. Rumor had it that some of the kids were already working on a documentary contract with a studio to give them a fresh start and share their story. But here's the catch. Dylan's older children, Chance and Justin Quincy, have it a little easier because their mothers are still there to take care of them. This also applies to his small daughter, who was born just a few years ago. Unfortunately, this means that Kim's kids, Christian, Jessie, and Delilah, would have to, despite being adults now, they are still rather young and need constant supervision and protection after high school, therefore they will stop at nothing to avoid living with their father's family. When Jessie and Delilah said that they would prefer to focus on their clothes business and start a business instead of going to college, rumors circulated that there might be a deeper explanation for the girls' decision to postpone going to college.
In cross-examination, the defense threw her timeline into question.
So because of that contradiction that we saw in real time, that was probably the most that I've seen Combs gesturing like, yeah, exactly, I couldn't have done this thing that this woman is accusing me of on this particular day.
The judge called it absolutely unacceptable and said if it happened again, Diddy could be kicked out of the courtroom.
In all the court cases that I've covered, I've never seen anything like that.
Also unusual, Diddy complained to one of the courtroom sketch artists, telling her to, quote, soften me up a bit. You're making me look like a koala bear. Listening in court today, Diddy's sons, Justin and Christian. A source tells ET it's been tough for his kids to hear the things their dad is being accused
of Diddy's legal issues. Insiders say the girls have had so much suffering over the last 2 years that they are not ready to go to college or deal with people who might treat them suspiciously. The fact that Diddy has been using his kids to boost his reputation both inside and outside of the courtroom seems to be becoming more and more obvious as the trial goes on. The court and the press, however, a lot of people are still unclear about how this will benefit the kids in the long term or if anyone is even taking them into account. How do you feel about the participation of Diddy's kids in the trial? Do you believe that if it seems that Diddy may lose the lawsuit, they will try to defend themselves? If so, watch the video below and leave a comment.